7.4, solving polynomial equations. We're going to use factoring to solve 2x cubed minus 7x squared plus 3x equals 0. This is a polynomial. What is its name by terms? It is a trinomial because it has 3 terms. What is its name by degree? Cubic, because its highest degree is 3. All right, factoring. What should I always look at first? Can I take anything out? If I take an x out, I am left with 2x squared minus 7x plus 3 equals 0. Now I pulled something out. I need to try to factor this or solve it somehow. I need 2 numbers, multiply to get me 2x squared, multiply to get me 3, but in the middle get me a negative 7. Well, the only way I can get this is a 1 and a 2, and the only way I can get this is a 1 and a 3. All right, I know one of them has to be a 2x. I know one of them has to be an x. I know the signs have to be the same, and they both should be negative. The only thing I got to find out is where the 3 and where the 1 goes. That's what you're going to do, is guess and check. 2 times what? 2 times the 3 gets me 6. Put on another one gets me a 7. So I have x times 2x minus 1 times x minus 3 equals 0. What are my zeros? Okay, 1 half, 3, there is a third, 0. 1 half comes from this. Opposite of this, divide by this. In other words, 2x minus 1 equals 0. Add 1 over, divide by 2. So I have this one, I have this one, and I have this one out here. X equals 0. That's, all right, I don't have the, yeah, okay, good. I have the graph. I have the graph. We had a graph, or zeros at 0, 1 half, and 3. That means I have a 0 here. I had a 0. I'm going to count by a half, okay? So I have 1 here, and 1, 2, 3. I have 3 zeros. What's that? Why did I count by half? So that way it wasn't all squished together. So I have 3 zeros on my graph. Now I know it's going to go curve somehow in order to hit it 3 ways. I can use the calculator. What? Yeah. The graphing behavior does help. This is a odd, so how does it work? If it's greater than, okay. This is greater than 0. It's going to be fall, rise. So it has to fall and it has to rise. And I'm just going to, something has to happen here. And it's not going to be a curve down here. It's going to be a curve like this. And then that has to go like this somehow. These aren't exact numbers. I'm not having you find the maximum ends yet. What you will eventually get into is being able to graph these with no calculator. I gotta change my graph. Yes. There's my graph. I have a 0 here, here, and there. It goes up, it goes down. But we will be able to go, just because you knew the whole table, it had to fall and it had to rise. I can find the minimums and the maximums without a calculator. You can. We will get into that eventually. No. We will be able to find exact numbers. We will be able to find the exact numbers. We're going to use the graph, synthetic division, and factoring to find all of the roots. We'll go through it again. We're going to use the graph, synthetic division, and factoring to find all the roots of x cubed minus 7x squared plus 15x minus 9 equals 0. So write all this down. Without having anything there, can I do anything here to factor it? I could try to factor by grouping. That would work. A lot of people don't see that, how to factor by grouping. So they graph it. Now, easily by graphing, I know there's a 0 here, and I know something happens here. The easiest one to do is right here. If I graph that, x cubed minus 7x squared plus 15x minus 9. There's the exact same graph. I can go into the table. I look for a 0. Where is there a 0 at? 1 and 3. You pick one. I picked 1. Now I use synthetic division. That's a 1. That's a negative 7. That's a 15. That's a negative 9. That is my 0. 1. Box goes over here. What should I get here? Why? Because this was a 0. Bring down the 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Negative 7 plus 1. Negative 6. 1 times negative 6. Negative 6. 15 minus 6. 9. 1 times 9 is negative 9 plus 9. 0. Yes. For this now, no. This means I have x minus 1 times x squared minus 6x plus 9. X minus 1, x squared minus 6x plus 9. I know that's one of my factors. Try to factor this. It's the original formula, x minus r. Factoring this. Can I take the square root? Can I take the square root of this? Can I take the square root of this? Is 2 times x times 3 this? So I have x minus 1, x minus 3 squared equals 0. So I have zeros, I already know, at 1 and 3. And that's it. Now, it's one of the shortcut methods from when we first started factoring. Or if you want to do it the long way, what times what's x squared, what times what's 9, I need to get a negative 6 in the middle. I know the calculator showed me right off the bat the answers was 1 and 3. It's not always going to be whole numbers. Now, you guys said right off the bat, factor by grouping. And you're saying put these two together and put these two together. It's going to be a lot harder. What do I have in common here? X squared. Pull out an x squared, what am I left with? X minus 7. Plus, pull out a 3, 5x minus 3. Does factor by grouping work? Why not? They're not the same. Factor by grouping was a good idea, but it doesn't always work. So the only way you could have factored this one is this way.
So did you need the graph?
The graph, I don't need the graph. What I really need is the table to find a 0. Second graph. Right, you have to put the problem into y equals first. I want you to try and find the solutions to this one. All right, on this problem, I type into the calculator. I can look at the graph. I know there was a 0 here and a 0 here. I need to pick one of those zeros. That one looks a lot nicer to use because I can't be so sure, even though the calculator does tell me it's 2 and the other one's -2. So I know one of the zeros is 2. So I use synthetic division. Put 2 in the box. 1, 2, -4, -8. Box down here. This should be a 0. Brings down the 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 2 times 4 is -4 and 8 is 2 times 4 is -8 and 8 is, so I did it correctly. X minus 2 from this. X squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 0. Constant x, x squared, x cubed, and so on out. I need to try to factor this one. I'm going to see if it's special. Can I take the square root? X. Can I take square root of this? 2. Is 2 times x times 2, 4x. X plus 2 squared, 0. I have zeros at 2, -2. There's only 2 zeros. Because there's technically, it's a double root right here. I have 2 zeros. When I did this, how did I know there was 2? There might be 3.
Right there inside the press. At the beginning, no. Right there, we said you see x plus 2.
All right, I'm lost now.
No, look, I'm for real because I want to know how to do this.
If x minus r is a factor that occurs a number of times, in the factoring, then r is a root with multiplicity. That's what I was just saying. In the previous problem, 3 is a root with a multiplicity of 2 because it happened twice. Because if I go back, it's really, I have -2 twice. What this can tell us is that if r is a root with even multiplicity, then the graph will touch but not cross the x-axis at r, 0. Now, Sorry, but you can't tell the multiplicity of a root just by looking at the graph. Well, this is what a lot of you want to know. Why am I doing all of this work if the calculator tells me the zeros are at 2 and negative 2? The calculator will not tell me that negative 2 happened twice. By doing the actual problem. So what we would write for this answer, going back to this one, multiplicity of 2. Negative 2 happens twice. Because this is squared. It's actually x plus 2, x plus 2. If I were to do that, I have 2, negative 2, and negative 2. Instead of writing multiplicity, I could also write negative 2 again. Yeah, it will be cubed. So that would be multiplicity of 3. Find the roots by variable substitution and factoring. This is something new. Because you're setting it equal to 0. We have x to the 4th minus 4x squared plus 3. Have I ever given you a shortcut for something of x to the 4th? No. You now know something that's x squared. You know a special one when it's x cubed. But x to the 4th, you don't. How many terms do I have? 3. This is a trinomial, but of degree it's quartic, 4th degree. This only works for this case. I'm going to let a equals x squared. Whatever letter, u, v, whatever. I think the book uses u's. I don't like u's because I just don't like u's. A. So you can't use x's. Go ahead and try. You can technically use it, but you got to be careful. A squared minus 4a plus 3. I substituted. A means x squared. So that's x to the 4th, so there's actually 2 different x squareds there. Because I replaced the x squared with an a. A means x squared.
Oh, so basically it's x squared to the second power.
Right.
I was lost. All right.
Now I'm going to try to factor this. How can I get an a squared, and how can I get a 3? A, and the only way is a 1 and a 3. The signs both have to be same, so they both have to be negative. So I actually have a equals 3 and a equals 1. But what does a really mean? So I have x squared equals 3 and x squared equals 1. How do I solve? Take the square root. X equals plus or minus the square root of 3. X equals plus or minus 1. Whenever you take the square root, it's plus or minus. How many solutions do I have? I have 4. Why do I have 4 solutions? Why do I have 4 solutions? x to the 4th. That is the most I can have. I will have, these are my 4 solutions. Square root of 3, negative square root of 3, 1, negative 1. If I go and graph this, x to the 4th minus 4x squared plus 3.
It makes my last name.
I have a 0 here, 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 and here. If I look on the table, I have a 0 at negative 1. I have a 0 at positive 1. Now the square root of 3 is 1.7 something. It happens in here. You don't see it on the table.
Oh, so that's what we were talking about. Can't find them.
So right here are my graphs, or here are my zeros from the graph. Try this one. A equals x squared. So I have a squared minus 9a plus 14 equals 0. A minus 7, a minus 2. So that means a is 7, a is 2. With substitution, x squared 7, x squared 2. Take the square root. X is plus or minus square root of 7. X is plus or minus square root of 2. Those are my 4 zeros. The calculator would not help me at all in the table because all of these are decimals. Yes? Yeah, if you don't know the square root of 7, you leave it square root of 7.